demand surge. After COVID, especially in 2022, people were driving, they were flying, they were out, they were about.
Gas prices are going up from here because OPEC cut production. I've been wrong about gas prices.
Although the world has acclimated to the soaring gas prices, every time global production decreases, it affects prices on almost everything. The US economy has to adapt to the crude oil market fluctuations, but ordinary Americans often carry the burden of high inflation as a result of OPEC decisions. OPEC and its allies, including Russia, agreed on Sunday to widen crude oil production cuts to 3.66 million barrels per day, or 3.7% of global demand. It is unsurprising that oil-producing nations want to increase their income by purposefully decreasing the production. But how will this decision affect the US market? Some observers already predict an increase in gas prices and hitting a record high by summer. Others offer plans to mitigate the damage caused by OPEC Plus by simply spending more strategic oil reserves. Thus, in this video, we are going to talk about the OPEC Plus decision and how it will affect the US. However, before doing so, consider subscribing to the channel. That way, you contribute to the production of more videos on fascinating economic topics. First, let's establish what OPEC is. The Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries has a total of 13 member countries, and its objective is to coordinate and unify petroleum policies among member countries in order to secure fair and stable prices for petroleum producers, an efficient, economic, and regular supply of petroleum to consuming nations, and a fair return on capital to those investing in the industry. According to the Council on Foreign Relations, together, the group manages almost 40% of the world's oil production. This vital position in the market has given OPEC the ability to work together as a team and regulate the amount of oil produced by its members, which can influence the price of oil worldwide. Consequently, many US presidents, including Gerald Ford and Donald Trump, have criticized OPEC for acting like a cartel and potentially harming the American economy. Back in 2016, when oil prices were very low, OPEC decided to team up with 10 other oil producers to form a group called OPEC Plus, and in 2019, OPEC formalized cooperation with Russia. However, given the US is the largest oil producer and a direct competitor, OPEC's policies are often conducted in spite of America's demands. This ultimately means that both sides try to balance each other by increasing or decreasing production. But why has OPEC decided to decrease crude oil production volumes now? One of the reasons is the significant drop in oil prices per barrel this year. When Russia invaded Ukraine, the oil price went way up to more than $130 for a barrel. However, by this past March, the prices have dropped to their lowest in 15 months, just a little above $70 for a barrel. This chart shows how the price of a barrel of Brent oil has changed in 12 months. So, to bump the price, starting in May and continuing until the end of the year, Iraq will reduce its oil production by 211,000 barrels per day, according to an official statement. Other countries, such as the UAE, Kuwait, Oman, Algeria, and Kazakhstan, will also cut their production by various amounts. Russia will continue its voluntary cuts of 500,000 barrels per day until the end of 2023. While not all OPEC Plus members are participating in the cuts, this move shows that the alliance between OPEC and Russia is still strong despite previous concerns about its weakening. That being said, the primary question is, what does this mean for the US? As mentioned, some competitors forecast an increase in gas prices in America. The production cuts alone could push US gasoline prices up by roughly 26 cents per gallon. In addition to the usual increase that comes with refineries change the gasoline blend during the summer driving season, said Kevin Book, Managing Director of Clearview Energy Partners LLC. Phil Flynn, who is a senior analyst at Price Futures Group and also contributes to Fox Business, has said that reducing oil production by up to 1.15 million barrels per day might result in an increase in gas prices by at least 26 cents. Currently, as per AAA, regular gasoline costs around $3.5. If Flynn's forecast is correct, it might lead to a rise in gasoline prices above $4 per gallon just before summer. According to NBC, The cost of oil went up a lot, around 8%, when OPEC Plus declared that they were reducing the amount of oil they produce by 1.16 million barrels per day. Because of this announcement, the price of Brent crude oil went up 5.1% to roughly $84 a barrel, and U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude oil also went up by 5.2% to $79.64 a barrel. The problem for the U.S. is that it is both an exporter and importer of crude oil. In 2021, the United States bought a lot of oil from 73 countries, including crude oil, gas liquids, gasoline, diesel fuel, and biofuel. Most of the oil the US bought was crude oil, which made up 72% of their total oil imports. The other 28% was different types of oil. On the other hand, the US also sold a lot of oil to 176 countries and 4 territories, including crude oil and other types of petroleum products. The US made up 35% of its total petroleum exports with crude oil. So when you subtract the amount of oil the US bought from the amount they sold, they end up exporting a little bit more than they imported, about 0.06 million barrels per day. The top 5 countries that the US bought oil from in 2021 were Canada, Mexico, Russia, Saudi Arabia, and Colombia, according to the US Energy Information Administration. In other words, to counter surging oil prices, the US will have to spend more on strategic petroleum reserves. In simpler terms, by the middle of October, the Energy Information Administration and the Strategic Petroleum Reserve website reported that there were around 405 million barrels of reserve oil, about 57% of the total storage capacity. This is a decrease from the almost 580 million barrels recorded in February before the Ukraine invasion. However, it is a concern that America will spend too much of its oil reserves, and the government is aware of that. Oil prices may be trading in a sweet spot for buyers, but it will take years to replenish. The nation's strategic petroleum reserves, U.S. Energy Secretary Jennifer Granholm said. About a year ago, the cost of regular gasoline in the United States was $4.19 per gallon. This happened when Russia invaded Ukraine, and it caused some problems in the world's energy markets. The cost of gas went up even higher to $5.02 per gallon on June 14th, which was the highest it had ever been. After that, the price slowly went down for over 3 months, and every day it was a little bit cheaper. One reason for the decrease was that the US released some of its oil reserves, and another reason was that people were worried that there might be a recession, which would mean less demand for gas. So if the government decided to preserve its SPR, households would prepare for higher gas prices on almost everything. A survey by Gallup conducted in 2022 found that 2 out of 3 Americans are feeling financial pressure due to the recent increase in gas prices. This number has gone up from 52% in April. In addition, more people were reporting moderate hardship rather than severe hardship, but the percentage of those who describe their situation as severe has increased from 14% to 22%. The survey was conducted from June 1st to June 20th. This was one of the highest levels of hardship reported by the Gallup since 2000, with the last time it was this high being in May 2011. Studies show that high gas prices hurt middle and low-income families the most. For instance, a decade ago, every dollar increase holding the number of miles driven constant would cost these moderate and lower-income households an extra $530 per year. For a family with an annual income of $20,000, this is an additional 2.7% of their total income. However, the Public Policy Institute of California states, rising gas prices may further constrain lower-income families. The bottom quintile of families by income level spend 16% of their income on gas and fuel compared to 8% for the second lowest income group, or 2% for the highest income group. Moreover, high prices of fuel affect other sectors of the economy. For example, when gas prices skyrocketed last year, businesses and consumers were legitimately concerned about food costs. The National Grocers Association said the impact of fuel prices may lead to higher prices along the supply chain due to increased transportation costs, further exacerbating the existing factors that have been driving inflation. Overall, the current condition of the oil market may bring negative news for ordinary citizens, and there are no short-term solutions. Households should be prepared for another surge in gas prices as it was last year or a decade ago. Thanks for watching. Hit the like button if you enjoyed the video, and feel free to express your opinion on the subject in the comment section.